We will talk about how to strengthen your job application for getting a middle grade ENT job in NHS, and then we will talk
Yes.
about how to prepare for the interview.
Yes.
NHS interviews, they have equal weightage or lots of questions which are non-clinical and then lots of questions which are clinical. How did you prepare for the non-clinical questions and how did you prepare for the clinical questions?
It is all thanks to you. Thank you very much. It would have not been possible without you.
Welcome, Dr. Pisa Ghosh.
Hello.
I would start this discussion by asking you how familiar are you with the following words? And listen to the words patiently. Thank you for your application. Unfortunately, your application was not successful on this occasion. Regrettably, feedback will not be provided. Although you were not shortlisted for this post, we would like to encourage you to make future applications for posts at this NHS Trust. Kind regards.
Very familiar with that. Very, very familiar.
So, the common thing that we have heard from people who make videos about NHS jobs is that it is a long and grueling process. Jobs are in short supply. It takes a lot of time to get the first NHS job and it requires a lot of patience. What we have
Yes.
not heard and what we will elaborate on today is that a doctor who gets an interview call for ENT, which is a subject which is notorious for having very few vacancies and very difficult to get into in NHS. This doctor gets an ENT job vacancy call for an interview 2 days before the scheduled interview date. And then the doctor, in those 2 days, prepares for the interview, and then on the same day of the interview, gets an email telling the doctor that they have got the job. How familiar are you with this situation?
I don't know. I'm familiar. It's like very rare, but I'm familiar with that situation. We'll go into details of that as we progress with this meeting, I guess. So I will not reveal all the secrets right now.
Okay, but just for the benefit of the viewers, we are talking to a person who has succeeded in getting an ENT job in the NHS and she only had 2 days preparation time for her interview. So in this video, we will try to discuss how it is possible to get a job and not to be all despondent and depressed and give up in the long and grueling journey that is from getting the GMC qualification, GMC registration, and then getting the first NHS job. So
Right.
without further ado, Dr. Pritha Ghosh, would you briefly describe the date when you were registered with GMC, your path to GMC registration, and how did you go about looking for jobs in the immediate aftermath of being registered with the GMC?
So I took the MRCS pathway. So I got my MRCS ENT diploma from the Royal College in May 2024. And after that, I gave my OET exam in a duration. I think it took me about 2 months to prepare for that. And I was GMC registered with a license to practice by by mid-January. So once I got the registration, I started applying within 10 to 15 days of getting the registration. So it would be safe to say that I started applying from February, beginning of February. So since February, I started applying on Track Jobs, which is the main website of the NHS system. Then I was also applying, I have applied a few jobs through the NHS Jobs website. And towards the end, when I was not getting any kind of positive response, I also started applying through a website known as Job Clerk.
So you started
So
applying in February 2025.
yes, of this year, of 20 February 2025. Yep.
Okay. So after how many applications did you receive the welcome news that you have been offered a job in the NHS?
I did almost about 100, but to be accurate, it was, I think, 96 or 97. Maybe it is actually, I did not count the NHS job website application. So I'm definitely sure it's above 100 applications that I did. So I got this interview call this month in October. So I have been applying for almost 8 to 9 months, almost 8.5 months, and I have applied to almost over 100 jobs. Initially, I would apply for all kind of jobs like the junior clinical fellow or trust grade doctor, not only the middle grade doctor jobs, but then eventually I attended a webinar where I was told that since I have experience in my own country, which is I have a pretty long experience in my home country. So I have the Royal College examination. I've cleared those exams. So it was a better chance for me to apply for the middle grade jobs. That's when I selectively started applying for only middle grade jobs. I think that was from May, May of 2025. So since May of 2020, first 3 months I applied to all kind of jobs that were there for the post of ENT. But then I started being very selective when I applied for middle grade jobs, be it senior clinical fellow, trust grade registrar or specialty doctor. These were only the jobs, even though they were JCF positions available, but I did not apply for them.
So, for the benefit of the viewers, what is the definition of a middle grade job in the NHS?
A middle grade job is someone who has, apart from having an MBBS degree, is not a fresh graduate from their home country, has some kind of higher education in their own country, like it could be an MD, an MS, or it could be an MCH exam, whatever. They must have some kind of higher education and a few number of quality experience, few years of quality experience, like at least minimum of 3 years, 4 years, something like that. So if you have that many experiences, so I think you can apply for middle grade job, which is just like somewhere like you can act as a specialty doctor if you compare it to, or a senior resident, something
So,
like
when you're
that, I
going
guess,
through
right?
the NHS track website, which job vacancy would you recognize as a middle grade vacancy for ENT?
So the middle grade jobs would be like trust grade registrar or a specialty doctor or a senior clinical fellow or anything above ST3, ST3 and above. Those were all the middle grade jobs.
Right. So, when you decided to only apply for middle grade jobs, did you see any difference in the response you were getting from the NHS trusts immediately?
No, initially, no, not immediately. So from May 2025, I've been applying continuously till October 2025. And all this time, I was getting the same response that unfortunately you have
Let,
not
let
been
me remind
selected.
you of the response. Thank you for your application.
Yes,
Unfortunately, your
exactly that one.
application was not successful on this occasion.
Yes, exactly that
Regrettably,
one.
feedback will not be provided. Did you ever get feedback?
No, 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 really. So that was exactly the response that I was getting for over the last few months. But then just a few days ago, 2 days back, it was a mail from one of the HR person from the trust that I had applied in end of September, somewhere around the end of September. I was very casual about it. I thought it's a rejection as usual. So I opened the email and I thought it's a rejection. But then suddenly there was something different in it. Here, instead of saying thank you for your application, there was something like we are pleased to let you know that you have been shortlisted for the interview, which is the dates for interview are available in 2 days. So if you are okay with that, can I book you in? So I was like, it's like a long shot, which is not actually possible. So initially, I thought if I would actually say yes to it, that yes, I'm available because it won't be successful. I was very like, it was like a long shot for me. But then I said, okay, at least I'll have an experience of NHS interview. So why not just say yes? So that's when I said yes to them. And immediately they followed up with a mail saying that you have been confirmed for the interview on so and so date with so and so time. So that's when I was now, then I started panicking. Then how do I prepare for an interview where I have no exposure of any kind of preparation? I had no idea what to do. That's how it all started.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, I want
Hmm.
to ask you, how did you keep yourself motivated throughout this process of I think it's important for the viewers to understand that applying 100 times may not appear to be that daunting if the application process does not take much time, if each individual application is a 5 minute process. So if you could just explain briefly how
Hmm.
much time it takes for each individual job application to NHS, then we'll get into it further.
So each application used to take about an hour and a half, 1 hour to 2 hours maximum. Okay, and some applications also had other very specific questions, like very personal questions, like explain about so and so, all other different kind of experiences. So those applications used to take around 2 days, like one sitting I would do 3 hours of application trying to make up answers, and then I would pause and do the same thing again the next day. So I can say like it would take 2 days to prepare all the answers, to look for answers, to talk to people what to write. So it is very tedious. So you can say I think one application a day would completely drain a person.
And you have had about 100 applications easily.
Yes, yes.
So that's
Not
almost like
easily.
100 days of effort.
Yes, yes. Not just more than 100 days, because after you do one application, you don't feel like opening the application again. I mean, you don't even want to look for another job, because it is so tiring, because you have to tailor your application according to their person specification, frame your answer. Even though you have a format ready with you, you still have to make a lot of editing into that, and then you have to put it up there. So it is like the same thing but a different version, so it's very tiring. Plus, it is for an ENT post where the jobs are very few compared to all the other surgical or other medical jobs. So there used to be like two or three vacancies once or twice a week. I mean, once in 2 to 3 weeks. So that took a lot of time. And missing those job would be like it would be a disaster, because already there's a lot of less jobs in the market available. So it's very tiring.
I just want to ask, when you were applying, you were spending so much time, you were tailoring your answers to the question, and each application has various sections. There's the personal section, the educational qualifications, then your employment history, then references, then there are individual clinical situations they ask. Give an example of a
Yes,
situation
right.
where you
Yes.
dealt with an airway emergency, something like that.
Yeah,
So,
something, or where
eh,
you have to tell about teamwork or something that you're proud of, or somewhere you might have done a
yes.
mistake. There are a lot of questions that they ask there.
And then there are specific trust value questions that demonstrate with an example how you demonstrated this
Exactly.
value of our trust in your daily work. So these
Exactly.
questions do take a
Yes.
lot of time. And did it occur to you at some point in your application process that you need professional guidance regarding how to apply for these
Yes.
jobs?
Yes, yes, I did, because making up answers on your own might not be fitting their pattern, the way people who work in the NHS actually answer those questions. So it was very important. I felt that I need to have some kind of professional help. So that's when I came across a webinar that was there on Facebook. Randomly, I was scrolling through the IMG pages on Facebook, and that's when I came across this Dr. Samejo's group, where there was this interview application webinar, and there was, sorry, yeah, application webinar, and there was one interview preparation webinar. So I had applied for the application webinar, which is around 4 to 5 hours long webinar, where from the start of the NHS application or the form, it starts from the starting and then goes till they discuss everything, like from all your qualifications, how do you write your edit your courses, and all the research and everything that you have done. So that was taught in details.
So everything that is necessary to be there in the job application, it was explained to you in that webinar. Why didn't you tell me about the webinar?
I told you about the webinar.
Okay.
I
So
was the one
yes,
who told you about the webinar. Very
yes,
funny, you know.
yes, you are the one who told me about the webinar, and I also attended the webinar. I think it went on for more than 6 hours. And this person, Dr. Samejo, he was
Yeah.
patient enough to answer each question that every participant asked. He did not say, "These are too
Yes,
many questions now. It's overshooting the time." It went on for double the scheduled time, I believe, and he was visibly exhausted,
exactly.
but he answered all of our questions.
Yes.
Okay, so did you also attend the interview preparation webinar?
Yes, I had attended it 3 months back. I thought I was free, so I was like, let's just attend it and just keep everything ready. At least I'll get an idea of what things, how do you actually answer the questions in the interview. But thank God I had done it at an earlier notice, because I had such a short notice period that I wouldn't have gotten a chance to attend his webinar had I not attended then. So it was
Yes.
a bonus point there.
So this is a very key learning point for the viewers that, and I would like you to add to it if you want, that while you are applying, although it is a very depressing and tiring process because A, the application takes ages to fill, and
Yes.
B, it usually comes back with
Don't,
no response,
yeah,
and worse
or
is the response that I
is
read.
negative.
Thank you for your application. Unfortunately, your application was not successful. So either there is
Right,
no response or there is an adverse response. So to keep
right.
yourself motivated throughout this process is extremely difficult. So first, you have to keep yourself motivated, and simultaneously you have to keep expecting, despite the
Exactly.
majority of the applications not receiving a positive response, you have to keep expecting that suddenly there will be an email which will say that you have been shortlisted for an interview, and you have to be ready for the interview.
But the,
It is
yes,
not
exactly.
necessary that you will get 2 weeks time or 3 weeks time. You
Exactly.
got two
Yes.
days time.
Yeah.
So you have to keep preparing for the interview while you're applying.
Yes. But that is very depressing, because you don't get the motivation that why should I prepare for the interview? Right now I am in the application mode. How do I prepare for it? But I think some things just stay in your subconscious mind, and when you're preparing for the interview, those things keep coming back to you, and then it's easier to prepare. So I
Right.
think just sitting for the webinar and just listening to it also does help a lot, because
Yes.
at least you remember the topics that were covered in the interview webinar.
For the benefit of the viewers, I would like to describe it as a scenario and tell me if you agree with it or not. It preparing for the interview is like preparing for an exam where you might not even receive the admit card,
Exactly. Yes,
but
right,
you
that
still
is
have to
very
prepare
right.
for the
Yes,
exam, because if
yes,
you don't prepare, then you
yes.
will not do well in the exam.
Yeah, because doing an application is completely different, and preparing for the interview is completely different from the application process that you do.
Okay, so we will break down these two things a little bit for the benefit of the viewers. First, we will talk about how to strengthen your job application for getting a middle grade ENT job in NHS, and then we will talk
Yes,
about how to prepare for the interview. So let's first talk about
yes.
what did you learn and how did you modify your approach towards applying for middle grade jobs in NHS? How did you strengthen your resume?
So, first thing is that I had a membership, Royal College membership exam. I had passed that, and I had a degree apart from MBBS in my home country. Like I have MSENT. So these
Did you
two are the
do your post graduation from India?
Yes, I did my post graduation from. We was in the same college, right,
We were
for
in
a
the
post
same college.
graduation.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Okay.
So yes, so I had, so if you have a Royal College exam, that automatically gives you a higher position. So you can, and with some substantial amount of experience in a particular field for whatever Royal College exam, if you have that experience, you can automatically apply for middle grade jobs. So that's the first point. The second thing is you need to have some additional factors. Like you need to have some courses that are valued equally in UK as well. Like the ATLS course, if you are in a surgical branch, the research ALS course or an ALS course online is also available, but you need to do these things. And then some courses like, yes, ATLS course, right, from the American College of Surgeons. And the other thing that a teaching course that is available on Oxford Medical Courses, which is again an online course. And there are other things like some research courses, and there are other management courses that are available online. But what I did personally is I did the ATLS course from the American College of Surgeons. I did the ACLS course which was an online course, something known as the Allison courses. I did that. And I did this thing. I have enrolled for the teachers course, but I have not finished it yet, but I've enrolled for that.
What about clinical audits and quality improvement projects?
Yes, right. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So there are other things that okay, research is something which is very important and valued there. So you must have some kind of research activity during your post graduation or during your working time in your country. So research and publications. Second is quality improvement project and audit. They don't have to be a formal quality improvement project or a formal audit, but you need to have some kind of exposure to that so that you know how the system works and how does it help the NHS. That's all you need to know. So being a part, even a minor part of it, does improve your CV a lot. Same goes for the quality improvement project.
So, just again for the benefit of the viewers, in the NHS, when they are hiring a doctor, they are not just looking at the clinical skills of the doctor. They are also looking at the teaching experience of the doctor, the research experience, the clinical audit
Exactly.
experience, the quality improvement project experience, the leadership and management experience. So, how did you
Exactly.
showcase the training experience, as you said, ATLS and all that? So, how did you showcase your teaching experience? You were not in a formal teaching role. So,
Teach,
how did you show that?
no. So even some kind of informal teaching is essential because while you were doing your maybe while you were doing your job somewhere or during your experience years or whatever, whenever you're working, you might have taught something to someone. You have to count those in. Like you might have taught, you might have done bedside case presentation, or during your postgraduate training, you might have done the presentation in the journal clubs or the postgraduate programs that you have. So you have to include all that. Or you might have taught the MBBS students something while you were managing your outpatient clinics. So even if you involve those scenarios, then you will have quite a few teaching experiences, I believe.
And something which I was not familiar with during post graduation, but it is required a lot in NHS job applications, is clinical audit and quality improvement project. Could you describe what is a clinical audit and what is a quality improvement project?
Audit is something which helps the NHS to improve their clinical services that they provide, and they compare their existing standards with a national guideline that has been provided to them. So they compare if the practices that are there, if it is incompetence or they are being compliant to the standards that have been set to them. So if
Right.
there is some kind of problem where they are not following the guidelines, then they have to implement changes so that they are following proper evidence based medicine and guidelines that are there.
So it's basically an improvement of care situation that the
Exactly. Improvement of this.
yes, so the whatever treatment they are prescribing, is it matching with the established guidelines or not? If not, why is it not matching? And what can be done to improve the
Yeah,
care? And what is a quality
exactly.
improvement project? How is it different from audit?
Uh, Quality improvement is in patient services. You find a problem and you implement and change to bring betterment to the patients. That's all. You don't compare it to a standard or something. You just find small problems in your regular practice and you try to improve it. That's all.
Hmm. All right. So I think that's about it for the job application. Now let's discuss about the interview. So the
Yes.
NHS interviews, they have equal weightage or lots of questions which are non-clinical and then lots of questions which are clinical. How did you prepare for the non-clinical questions and how did you prepare for the clinical questions?
It is all thanks to you. Thank you very much. It would have not been possible without you. I'd like to say this to whoever is watching that the 2 days that I prepared was apart from reading whatever little material that I had, which I got from you, it was mainly the conference call that we had, the meeting that we had for the past 2 days. It lasted for about 5 to 6 hours on like with breaks. So first we completed this clinical scenarios where you told me the 5 step approach, how to do what was the gist of everything. That is what really mattered. Because in the interview you don't remember details. It is just the flow of how to go about and how you do it in your own practice with some of the important points that you mentioned. That's how honestly, that is what I answered in the interview. And for the non-clinical part, the definitions, the videos that you sent, that's all I learned, and I went for the interview, to be very honest. I did not have any other source of material apart from Dr. Samejo's interview webinar. Nothing else was there. Those are only the questions that I prepared. And yes, long, very long back, I did watch Raja Adnan's video, but I remember nothing of it at all, because that was like 6 months back when I was just sitting idle, applying. That's just to utilize my time. That's what it is. So it all goes to you, because you actually helped me prepare. Like, you gave me like 90% of your time to get it done, and some of the credit goes to Dr. Samejo, because if he had not told me the questions, and on the last day I approached him, he sent me a set of questions with some answers for difficult or conflict scenarios. That's all I did, honestly speaking.
Right. So now that we are appreciating each other's contribution, I will also like to mention something that I would not have found out about the job vacancy that ultimately led to me getting the first job offer if you would not have told me about it, because it was on a website called Job Clerk, which I did not know about. And you
Yes.
told me that there is a vacancy. And I must also add that you found the vacancy and you did not apply for the vacancy, because you knew very well that if you apply, then you'll get the job. I wouldn't get it.
No,
So
no,
that
no, no.
that also is something I do owe a lot of thanks to you. I had applied
Mm.
in August and I had forgotten about it. So my story is slightly different from yours. I applied in August. I forgot about it because they did not respond. And as I said in the beginning of the video, that either they don't respond or they respond with a message where
The
they
negative.
say,
Negative, yeah.
unfortunately and regrettably, all that. So because they were not responding, I assume that this is also one of those applications which has not worked out. But then they responded all of a sudden. I think in the middle of end of September. End of September they responded. And again, this is another point, that email notifications are not something which is always on all my devices.
Yeah, it
Somehow I
matters.
was
It
using
definitely.
my iPad at that time, and my iPad has Gmail notifications on. So I got the email notification immediately. And again, I opened it up thinking that maybe again this will be unfortunately, regrettably. But again, it was shortlisted, and my interview was 7 days later. And it was in the middle of Durga Puja in West Bengal, which you can imagine is not a very quiet time of the year. So, and during that time also you helped me a lot. So it's not just one way. I think you have also been a very strong source of support. And I wanted you to suffer in the UK if if we both go there. So it should not be just me, because I always feel paranoid that you are finding out a vacancy and not applying and asking me to apply. So I'm constantly worried
Hmm.
about that also.
No, I did not apply for it because I was on call that day and I did not have my laptop with me. So I couldn't apply, because as usual, applying for a job is very tedious and I really did not have the energy to sit and apply for hours on that day. And when I came back home the next day, I had completely forgotten about the application. Completely just slipped out of my mind. So it was gone. I think that was the last day of application. When I checked and I told you, and you applied on the last day.
Right. So it's very important to understand the value of chance, that we
Yes,
will do all kinds of things and we'll strengthen our resume and we'll do training courses and teaching
yes.
courses and research and audit and all these things. But at the end of the day, the whole circumstances under which we get a positive news, they are quite random.
Yes.
So,
Okay, I want to ask you a question.
yes.
Tell me how important, like, we both do not have any kind of clinical attachment, right? But
Yeah.
people say that it is essential for doctors, IMGs like us to have clinical attachment. I want to ask you what is your input on that, or what do you think about it for middle grade jobs or junior grade jobs? What do you think is the value of clinical attachment?
I think it's always better to have exposure. Having said that, when we talked to Dr. Samejo, who is a valuable contributor to our collective success and to the success of many others. He said that for middle grade jobs, if you have Royal College membership, if you have experience in your home country, and if you have the training courses like ATLS and QIP and audit and research and teaching experience, basically you tick all the boxes, then clinical attachment for middle grade jobs is not as essential as it is for junior jobs, like entry level jobs. For entry
Yes.
level jobs,
Yes.
it's much more important. But then still, if you ask me personally, I would always say the clinical attachment does have some impact in two ways. One way is that you get to familiarize yourself with the system, which is going to be very different from what we have experienced in India. And you also get to interact with people there, which helps you build connections, and that may not necessarily translate into jobs, but you get to understand of the people how they work there, and that is also quite important. However,
Yes.
my only criticism of the clinical attachment process is getting a clinical attachment is equally difficult. I would say even
Exactly.
more difficult than getting a job, because at least the jobs are publicly displayed on a website and you get to be aware of these are the jobs that are available and then you can apply. Clinical attachment is like a blind process. You have to send
Yes.
emails to trusts and then hope for replies. So I never
Yes.
really, although I understood the importance of it, I never really understood how to apply for it. So both of us, we have got our first offer letters without a clinical attachment. So
Exactly.
that's a good thing. Now, before we conclude this video, I want to tell, I want to ask you regarding what are the expectations you have regarding the this interim period before you move to the UK. What are the things you're going to do now?
I don't know. I think prepare all the paperwork that is required to get that we need to get ready in time. And I don't know, I might watch a few videos somewhere as how to start your first NHS job so that it can actually like you have an idea or talk to people who are already in the NHS and get some idea about how it is during your first day or what all you need to do, how do you need to prepare, and maybe just prepare myself for my first job.
There is a WhatsApp group which I think we both are part of, and the
Yeah,
good thing about that group is that everyone who is now an expert on that group was once someone who knew nothing about it. And I believe you
definitely.
are in that situation now. I know a little bit more because I have a 2 week head start, just 2 weeks, nothing more than that. So there are so many documents that they ask for. Hopefully, your trust will not ask for as many documents as my trust has asked for, and it will be much easier for you to procure those documents. And once they do something called a pre-employment check, where they verify all your documents, and then they issue a certificate of sponsorship. Once they have issued the certificate of sponsorship, then you have to apply for visa. To apply for visa, you need three documents basically. You need police clearance certificate, you need TB certificate, and you need the certificate of sponsorship which they will provide. So on your own, you have to procure only two things: police verification certificate or police clearance certificate and TB certificate. So TB certificate also is not very straightforward. It's easy, but it's just a complicated process because you have to go to a designated center. So on the UK government website, you'll find uh, based on your country of residence. Again, I'm talking to the viewers also. So based on your country of residence, you will find designated centers which do provide TB certificates that are acceptable to the UK government. So you have to go there and get that certificate. It's not a complicated process in applying, but you have to find it and then you have to go there. If you're not living in the same city, then it is
Exactly.
slightly cumbersome, which was the case for
Difficult.
me. It will not be the case for you because you live quite close to the center. And so you get that. I think you do that as soon as possible because that will be required anyway. And it's a 1 day affair. You have to go there in the morning. They'll do a chest X-ray and they'll give you the certificate. That's valid for 6 months. Police verification is a question mark because we belong to the same state, which shall remain undisclosed for the purpose of this video. In our home state, there are two ways of getting a police clearance certificate. One is through the police website, another one is through the passport website. So I got it through the police website. Apparently, there is a contradiction here that maybe you should get it through the passport services. So I'll apply for both. And you also can do both because the passport thing takes longer, but I believe it is more valid for visa purposes. But for the preliminary checks, you can easily get the police clearance certificate through the local police station. Both will happen through the local police station. It's just the way your application reaches that is different. Either it reaches directly the police or it reaches via the passport office. So that's about it. And also, you have to give employment references from
Yes,
your
for
place
the
of
past
employment.
3 years.
Yes, for you it has been 3 years. For me,
Yes,
it
yes.
was much longer. I don't know why, but yeah, more than one references. I think so. The HR people, they guide
Yeah,
you through the process, so you can continuously keep emailing them. Also, you can ask them about the salary and other accommodation and support they will provide during relocation and all those things. So don't hesitate to ask the HR anything. Okay, so on that
right.
happy
All
note,
right.
let us conclude the video. Thank you for your time, Dr. Preetha Ghosh.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time too. Thank you so much.